You don't notice the room. You monitor it. The moment you enter, your attention locks onto the emotional atmosphere as if it were your responsibility, not out of interest, not out of care. You scan for tension, instability, shifts that could turn into something else. This is not neutral awareness. It is a learned position. Before you register your own state, you have already assessed everyone else's. That order matters. It reveals what your system prioritizes. And it is not accidental. This behavior feels automatic because it is. Your attention moves outward without instruction, as if the room needs to be checked before anything else can happen. Small cues register immediately. Tone changes, pauses, subtle discomfort. You treat these signals as meaningful, even when nothing obvious follows. This is not sensitivity in the abstract. It is orientation toward potential outcomes. Your mind is not asking how the room feels. It is evaluating whether the environment is stable enough to relax. And most of the time, it decides it is not. Patterns like this do not form in calm conditions. They form when emotional shifts had consequences. When changes in mood led somewhere unpredictable. Raised voices withdrawal, escalation, silence that carried weight. In those environments, ignoring emotional cues was not neutral. It was risky. So awareness became useful. Not to connect, but to anticipate. You learned that noticing early reduced impact, that adapting quickly prevented things from getting worse. Over time, this association hardened. Emotional awareness stopped being optional. It became necessary. This is where the behavior quietly turns into control. Not control over people, but over outcomes. By tracking emotional shifts, you reduced unpredictability. You adjusted your presence to maintain equilibrium. You did not need to dominate or direct. You only needed to sense and adapt. The room stayed calmer. Situations stayed contained. This reinforced the pattern. Awareness worked, so it stayed active. Even when the original conditions disappeared, the function remained. Your system does not update itself just because the environment changes. As a result, neutral spaces still trigger the same response. Ordinary rooms feel like something to manage. Conversations with no real stakes still activate monitoring. You feel subtly responsible for emotional balance without being asked. And because this behavior often produces smooth interactions, it is rarely questioned. It is labeled as emotional intelligence, composure, perceptiveness, but functionality hides origin. The behavior did not develop to make you insightful. It developed because stability once depended on someone paying attention. The cost of this pattern is not immediately visible. It shows up in sequence. Your internal state is processed later, sometimes much later. You notice how you feel after the room feels stable, not before. Your emotions become secondary data, filtered through environmental assessment. This is why stillness can feel empty. When there is no emotional movement to track, your system has nothing to regulate. Without fluctuation, the learned function goes idle, and idleness does not feel like peace. It feels like something is missing. The realization is simple and uncomfortable. Your sensitivity is not accidental. It is not just awareness. It is the result of learning that emotional monitoring kept situations from destabilizing. That regulation prevented consequences. What looks like attentiveness is a strategy that once worked too well to abandon. You are not oriented toward connection first. You are oriented toward control through awareness. The room comes before you because, at one point, it had to. And this pattern does not exist by itself. Systems that learn to manage emotional environments rarely stop there. The same conditioning tends to shape how closeness is handled, how silence is interpreted, how conflict is anticipated. These adaptations operate together, quietly reinforcing each other. Most people notice only the surface behavior. They never see the structure underneath it. And that structure is still active, even now, waiting for the next shift.